What is going on, Blue Jays Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Jays Report. I'm your host, and we have got a massive update to talk about today. Grab your coffees, settle in, because opening day is just around the corner, and the Blue Jays are making massive roster moves. Just when we thought the starting rotation was locked, loaded, and ready to dominate the American League, the baseball gods threw us a curveball. News just broke that our workhorse, José Berríos, is dealing with a stress fracture and is projected to start the 2026 season on the injured list. José Berríos, Toronto Blue Jays. I know. Take a deep breath. It's a tough pill to swallow right before the season kicks off. But before you hit the panic button, let me tell you why the front office's off-season planning might just save our AL East battle. The spotlight is suddenly shifting, and the importance of Eric Lauer to this Blue Jays rotation has just skyrocketed. Lauer is now one step closer to getting exactly what he wanted, a return to the starting rotation. Let's break down exactly what this means for our boys in blue. Looking at the roster moves today, the ripple effect of the Berríos injury is huge. With José sidelined, the Blue Jays are suddenly left with only 5 healthy, major league caliber starters, and that is before we even factor in Eric Lauer. Previously, the 30-year-old southpaw was seemingly on the outside looking in when it came to the starting 5. He was destined to return to the bullpen in a multi-inning relief role, very similar to the crucial job he performed for a good chunk of last season. But, as every Jays fan knows that follows spring training closely, these things can change in the blink of an eye. Let's give some massive credit to John Schneider and the Toronto front office here. At every single stage of this spring, they maintained absolute consistency in Lauer's preparation. They kept him stretched out. Even before Berríos' elbow injury flared up into a stress fracture, Schneider continuously reiterated the importance of giving the veteran lefty a normal starter's workload throughout camp. Schneider kept saying Lauer remained right in the thick of it for the 2026 rotation. Talk about foresight. By a twist of fate, Lauer, who has made it very clear he prefers starting over relieving, is now on the doorstep of taking the mound in the first inning again. And let's talk about the depth and the spring training cuts. If another arm goes down, or if the organization decides that our top pitching prospect, JAYS, needs a bit more time on our prospect watch down at the player development complex before making the leap, Lauer is the undisputed next man up. In my opinion, this prospect needs more time in Buffalo or the PDC to refine his secondary pitches anyway. So rushing Yesevich would be a mistake when we have a veteran like Lauer ready to go. Let's not forget history, folks. As many of you remember, Lauer was the absolute savior of our rotation last season. He stepped up when the Blue Jays needed him the most. Remember when Max Scherzer went on the IL? And by the way, Scherzer's absence is now extending into 2027 after that UCL surgery last month. A brutal blow. And remember Bowden Francis's struggles? Lauer was the glue. After spending half a season in the KBO a couple of years ago, the former Brewer came back and shoved in 2025. He posted a 3.33 ERA, a 4.17 FIP, and a 17.3% strikeout minus walk rate across 15 starts. And when he moved back to the pen down the stretch, absolute nails. 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts, and 1 walk in his last 6 regular season relief appearances. He even carried that into October, compiling a 3.12 ERA in the playoffs. The guy is a competitor. So how does this shift the strategic outlook for our opening day lineup and rotation? Rogers Center, Toronto Baseball. Well, the rotation now has to lean heavily on our established aces and our shiny new acquisitions. Kevin Gausman is going to have to be the undisputed leader of this staff. We need his splitter dancing right out of the gate. And thank goodness we went out and got Dylan Cease, right? Cease brings that high-octane swing and miss stuff that we desperately need to counter the heavy hitters in New York and Baltimore. Offensively, the pressure might dial up just a notch. George Springer needs to set the tone at the top of the lineup, and we are all incredibly hyped to see what Kazuma Okamoto can do in his first full season under the lights at the Rogers Center. If the offense can give us early leads, it takes a massive amount of pressure off the back end of this rotation. Now, I know what some of the stat watchers are saying. But what about Lauer's spring numbers? Look, it is true that Lauer's results this preseason haven't been eye-popping. He's sitting on an 8.64 ERA over 4 spring outings. But let me tell you something. That does not matter right now. Spring training stats for a veteran working on his craft are essentially meaningless. The Blue Jays have been focusing entirely on getting his pitch count up. He's scheduled for a 4-inning, simulated game against minor league hitters at the PDC on Wednesday, right after throwing 60 pitches against the Yankees. Lauer isn't losing sleep over his spring ERA, and neither should you. Why? Because he is using this time exactly how a veteran should: tinkering. He's been working tirelessly to better incorporate a changeup that he only threw 8% of the time last season. He's also developing a get-me-over curveball that he previously only used in 0-0 counts. This is the perfect time to test those pitches. He doesn't need to prove he can get minor leaguers out. He needs to prove his arsenal is ready for a grueling 162-game postseason push. The team knows exactly how valuable he is. Let's take the temperature of the city. What is the media pulse right now? If you tune into Sportsnet or TSN today, you're definitely hearing a bit of panic regarding José Berríos. A stress fracture is no joke, and the Toronto media is rightfully questioning how long he'll actually be out. But amidst the concern, there is a resounding wave of praise for the front office's depth strategy. The analysts over at TSN are echoing exactly what we are saying here. The Eric Lauer insurance policy is paying massive dividends before the season even starts. Toronto Blue Jays, Eric Lauer pitching. And what about the fans? I've been reading your comments, scrolling through Blue Jays Twitter, and talking to folks around the city. Every Jays fan knows that pitching depth is the currency of a championship team. While losing Berríos hurts, the optimism for 2026 remains incredibly real. Fans at the Rogers Center appreciate grit, and Lauer proved last year that he has ice in his veins. He isn't flashy, he isn't throwing 100 miles per hour, but he is a bulldog on the mound. The consensus in Blue Jays Nation is clear. We are battered, but we are absolutely not broken. We have the bats, we have Cease and Gosman, and we have the ultimate safety net in Eric Lauer. So, here is my final verdict. Was keeping Lauer stretched out as a starter the right move? Absolutely. It was a masterclass in roster management by John Schneider and the front office. Now that our starting pitching depth is being tested right out of the gate, Lauer's versatility is the glue holding this rotation together. With just over a week left until opening day, his importance cannot be overstated. He is ready for this moment. But I want to hear from you. Do you trust Eric Lauer to hold down the fort until Berríos gets back? Should we be looking at the trade market, or are we riding with the guys in the clubhouse? Drop a comment down below and type, "Go Jays," if you believe this team is still destined for the AL East crown. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an update on your Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to be here all season long, covering every pitch, every swing, and every roster move. Until next time, Blue Jays Nation, keep the faith and let's play ball.